Limbo for me was one of those games that I didn't expect to leave an impact on me. No, not that Limbo. This Limbo. But it did. For those unaware, Limbo is a 2D puzzle platformer developed by Play Dead, an independent game studio. You see, I knew what Limbo was before playing since I played Inside a few years back, and that game also wowed me. But what I was most impressed with was the story Limbo told. There is no dialogue, but this game was able to tell a story like none other. Now, the story isn't clear per se. There are a lot of theories about what the story is, with the majority of them making a lot of sense, but here I'm going to explain what I think the story is based on what I thought throughout my playthrough. I guess I should mention a quick spoiler warning, as I will be talking about the ending of the game, but essentially the story is sad, or at least to me it was a sad and dark story that left me in a bit of silence. For starters, the title of the game, Limbo. To some, it just seems like a unique and fitting title, but if you look at it with the theology of Limbo, it gives us insight into what the game is ultimately about. The little boy we play as is dead and is in limbo. But what is the theological concept of limbo? Well, to put it simply, it's a place where people who don't deserve heaven, but also don't deserve hell. More specifically, in Catholic theology, limbo is a place where unbaptized babies go, as well as those who hail from non-Christian cultures. But in the context of the game, I feel like it's a place similar to purgatory, where the little boy goes through trials before moving on. There also appears to be a little girl as well, which I believe alongside many others to be his sister. Now here's what I think. Both the nameless boy and his sister are dead. I say this because in the main menu screen, there are two swarms of flies and a treehouse that looks almost deteriorated and collapsed. I think sadly that the treehouse might have collapsed and both fell to their deaths, but why are both of them in limbo? And more specifically, why is the little boy the only one who seems to be going through these trials? I believe the little boy might feel subconsciously guilty for his sister's death, as he might have been the one to build the treehouse, which would explain why we don't see the sister going through these trials. Which is why when we do see her, it's at the end of the game and by the treehouse. So these trials and these puzzles are meant for the little boy. Not only are these puzzles meant for him, I believe they are a reflection of his subconscious and even aspects of his life. The beginning area is a forest, which in a way represents the childlike curiosity of the unknown, or it could just represent where he died and suddenly awoke. The big spider, which could represent a child's fear of spiders alongside the other boys in the limbo, which attacked the nameless boy, might represent his bullies. The gears turning and the rundown hotel signs might represent that maybe they didn't have a good childhood, or some say that the little boy grew up to be a depressed and guilty adult until he finally killed himself by where his sister had previously died, explaining the two swarms of flies. This could also explain that when the little boy reaches his sister, she appears to be surprised that she might have been there for a long time waiting for something, or maybe nothing at all. But I'm more inclined to believe that they both died at the same time, as it really wouldn't make any sense that both swarms of flies are there if he had died as an adult way after her passing. I also find the story to make more sense as a story of guilt and letting go of what was troubling from his time alive. At the end of the trials, the boy breaks through a barrier before meeting his sister, and I believe this is to be the point where he's finally moved on from all that guilt and troubling aspects of his life. And when he is reunited with his sister, they can both finally move on together. I found the story of Limbo to be such a sad and beautiful one where at the end of the game I found myself being like, damn. And not to mention the beautiful visuals. I mean, this game has one of the best visuals that fit the story by far in my opinion. It gives off almost this gloomy and dark setting that really fits well with the story. On top of such a beautiful story, the puzzles were fun and not too complicated, and they made me question what, they could possibly mean. The wonderful minds behind this game knew what they were doing and what they wanted to convey through this work of art, and I'm truly grateful for being able to experience a beautiful and fun game. So if that hasn't made you consider playing this game, well, I think you're crazy. But please play this game.